The Galactic Assembly Station Concordia gleamed like a jewel against the backdrop of space, its crystalline spires housing representatives from over 1,000 civilizations. Supreme Speaker Vaxtul, a being of pure energy contained within an ornate environmental suit, drifted through the grand chamber where the day's session was about to begin. The chamber's quantum displays showed the usual reports: trade disputes, territorial negotiations, and scientific collaboration updates. Supreme Speaker called out Under-Secretary Zimtal, their chitinous form clicking rapidly across the polished floor. "We have an anomaly in Sector 7. Vaxtul's energy form flickered with mild annoyance. Sector 7 was a backwater region, home to dozens of pre-FTL civilizations. What kind of anomaly? A ship, Supreme Speaker, unlike anything in our database. The quantum displays shifted, showing a massive vessel that had seemingly appeared from nowhere. Its design was alien to Galactic Assembly aesthetics, all sharp angles and exposed weapon systems, radiating power readings that shouldn't be possible with known technology. Origin? Vaxtul asked, their energy form condensing with concern. Earth, Supreme Speaker. The humans. The chamber erupted in chaos. Earth was a quarantined world, deemed too primitive for contact just 50 years ago. They had barely mastered nuclear fission when the Assembly's observation posts last reported. The ship's size alone defied comprehension. Nearly 3 kilometers of jet-black hull plating interwoven with pulsing blue energy conduits. Its presence violated dozens of assembly protocols, but more importantly, it challenged everything they thought they knew about technological progression. "They're broadcasting," Zimtal announced, mandibles twitching nervously. A hologram materialized in the center of the chamber. The figure was unmistakably human. Female, dark-skinned, wearing a uniform adorned with unfamiliar insignia. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force vessel Prometheus. We come with urgent news for the Galactic Assembly." Vaxtul's containment suit hummed as they processed this development. "This is impossible. Your species was pre-industrial within living memory. A lot can change in 50 years when necessity demands it." Admiral Chen replied, her expression grave. "We've been watching, learning, and preparing. The Assembly's observation posts were easy to avoid once we understood their limitations." "Preparing for what?" Vaxtul demanded. "For what's coming. Something that threatens not just Earth, but every civilization in this galaxy." Chen's hologram gestured, and new images appeared, strange geometric patterns in deep space, energy signatures that made no sense. "You've broken dozens of assembly laws," Zimtal interjected. "The penalties will be irrelevant if we don't act now," Chen cut in. "We request an emergency session of the full assembly. What we have to share cannot wait for bureaucratic procedures." Vaxtul's energy form swirled with conflicting impulses. Everything about this situation violated assembly protocols, yet the humans' very presence proved they possessed technology far beyond what should be possible. Either they had help, which would implicate other assembly members in violation of quarantine, or they had achieved something unprecedented in galactic history. "You have 1 hour to explain yourselves," Vaxtul decided, ignoring the protests from various assembly members. "But be warned, the Prometheus will remain under surveillance by our defense fleet." Admiral Chen's hologram smiled. "Your defense fleet is impressive, Supreme Speaker. But if we meant you harm, we wouldn't be having this conversation. 1 hour is all we need." As the hologram faded, Vaxtul turned to address the chamber. "Send word to all assembly members. Something unprecedented has occurred, and I fear it heralds changes none of us are prepared for." The Prometheus hung in space like a dark promise, its mere presence challenging centuries of assembly doctrine about technological development. In 1 hour, they would learn why humanity had hidden its advancement, and what threat could be grave enough to force their hand. The galaxy was about to change, and humanity, it seemed, would be the catalyst. The Assembly's emergency session chamber was packed with representatives from across the galaxy. Crystalline beings floated alongside silicon-based life forms, while energy creatures like Vaxtool hovered near massive gas giant dwellers in their containment suits. All eyes were fixed on the human delegation that had just arrived from the Prometheus. Admiral Chen stood at the center of the chamber, flanked by two other humans. Dr. Marcus Wong, a quantum physicist whose nervous energy was visible in his constant shifting, and Security Director Amara Okafor, whose cybernetic enhancements gleamed subtly beneath her dark skin. 50 years ago, Chen began, we detected something your sensors missed, a signal originating from the space between galaxies. She gestured, and holographic displays showed a pattern of pulses that made several assembly members recoil in obvious distress. Impossible, declared Representative Kizoth, a crystalline entity. Our detection networks are the most advanced in known space. They're also predictable, Director Okafor spoke up. We learned to spot the gaps in your coverage. It wasn't hard to avoid detection while we prepared. Dr. Wong stepped forward, pulling up new displays. The signal we detected wasn't random noise. It was a wake-up call, aimed at something sleeping in the void between galaxies, something ancient, something hungry. The displays showed massive structures, geometric shapes that defied natural formation, drifting in the darkness between stars. They pulsed with an energy that made the assembly's quantum sensors struggle to maintain focus. We call them the Harvesters, Chen continued. They're artificial beings, created by a civilization so old their name has been lost to time. They move from galaxy to galaxy, consuming all advanced life they encounter, breaking down entire civilizations into raw materials to reproduce themselves. Vaxtool's energy form flickered with skepticism. If such beings existed, surely we would have detected them before now. You were looking in the wrong places with the wrong tools, Dr. Wong explained. We had to develop entirely new branches of physics just to track them. The signal we detected, it's waking them up. They're coming here. The chamber erupted in shocked discussions and arguments. Chen waited for the noise to die down before continuing. We couldn't warn you directly. Your civilization's response to threats is predictable. You would have debated, formed committees, waited for consensus. We didn't have that luxury. So we watched, we learned, and we prepared. Director Okafor activated a new display, showing the Prometheus's weapon systems. Everything about our ship design, our technology, was developed with one purpose: fighting the Harvesters. We've spent 50 years preparing for a war most of the galaxy doesn't even know is coming. Why reveal yourselves now? Vaxtool demanded. Because they're almost here, Chen answered grimly. Our long-range sensors detect their advanced scouts at the edge of the galaxy. We estimate 3 months before the main force arrives. We can't fight them alone. The displays shifted again, showing tactical projections that made even the most militant assembly members draw back in shock. The scale of the approaching threat was beyond anything in their experience. We're not asking for permission, Chen stated firmly. We're not here to debate. We're here because even with everything we've built, everything we've prepared, we need allies. The Harvesters can't be reasoned with or deterred. They can only be fought. Dr. Wong stepped forward again. We're prepared to share our advances in quantum mechanics, our breakthroughs in void space technology, everything we've developed. But we need to act now. Every day we delay is a day less we have to prepare. The chamber was silent for a long moment. Then Vaxtool spoke, their energy form pulsing with determination. You've violated our laws, hidden your development, and now demand our cooperation. Yes, Chen agreed simply. Because the alternative is extinction. Show us everything, Vaxtool commanded. Every piece of evidence, every scrap of data. If what you say is true, the assembly must know the full scope of what we face. As the humans began their detailed presentation, the reality of their situation sank in. Humanity hadn't just advanced, they had been standing guard, preparing for a threat the assembly had never imagined. The question now was whether the galaxy could unite in time to face what was coming. In the space above the chamber, The Prometheus waited like a dark sentinel, its very design a testament to humanity's single-minded preparation for the coming storm. The age of peaceful expansion was over. The time for war had come. The massive holographic display in the Concordia's war room painted the assembled leaders in an eerie red glow. Admiral Chen stood beside Vaxtol, both watching as the first confirmed Harvester scout ship tore through the assembly's outer defense network like it was made of paper. Conventional weapons are useless, Director Okafor reported, her cybernetic eye glowing as she processed real-time data. Their void shields absorb everything we throw at them, just like we predicted. The Assembly's military leadership watched in horror as their most advanced warships, Pride of 1,000 Worlds, failed to even scratch the alien vessel. The scout ship was smaller than the Prometheus, but its organic metallic hull seemed to drink in energy weapons and shrug off kinetic impacts. "Now," Chen said quietly, "watch this." The Prometheus emerged from quantum space directly above the Harvester scout. Its hull pulsed with blue energy as it unleashed a new kind of weapon, concentrated beams of what Dr. Wong had termed null space energy. The Harvester's shields, impenetrable to conventional weapons, offered no protection. The scout ship's hull began to dissolve, its matter being forcibly ejected into another dimension. By the eternal void, breathed Kazoth, their crystalline form resonating with shock. "What have you done?" "We studied their technology, reversed engineered what we could from ancient debris we found," Dr. Wong explained, his hands dancing over control interfaces. The Harvesters exist partially in null space. It's what makes them so hard to detect and damage. But it's also their weakness, if you know how to exploit it. But victory was short-lived. The quantum sensors screamed as space itself seemed to tear open. Through the breach came something that made the scout ship look tiny by comparison. A Harvester capital ship, its geometrically impossible form hurting the eyes of organic observers. "They're not supposed to be here yet," Chen snapped, her composure cracking for the first time. "Our projections gave us weeks more." "They're learning," Okafor stated grimly, "adapting faster than we anticipated." The scout ship transmitted before we destroyed it. The Harvester capital ship opened fire, not with energy weapons or projectiles, but with beams that seemed to age matter itself into dust. The Assembly's defensive platforms disintegrated, sentries passing in seconds. "Prometheus, engage," Chen ordered. "All power to null space weapons." The human warship charged forward, its experimental weapons blazing, but the capital ship was orders of magnitude more powerful than the scout. Its void shields bent space itself, deflecting even the null space beams. "We need more power," Dr. Wong shouted, his fingers flying over controls. "The null space tap can't generate enough energy." Vaxtol's energy form pulsed with sudden decision. "You shall have it." Their containment suit opened, and pure energy flowed out, connecting with the Prometheus's power systems. Other energy-based assembly members followed suit, offering their very essence to power the human weapons. The Prometheus's hull blazed with combined human and alien power. Its next shot pierced the Harvester's defenses, shattering its impossible geometry. The capital ship died, its remains falling into normal space as inert matter. But in its death throes, it transmitted. Across the void between galaxies, something stirred. The main Harvester fleet, vast beyond comprehension, accelerated its approach. 2 days, Chen announced, her voice heavy. "Maybe 3. Not the weeks we thought we had." "Then we have much to do," Vaxtol declared, their weakened energy form returning to its containment suit. "Your weapons work, but require more power than you can generate alone. Our species can provide that power, but we have too few ships capable of channeling it." "Then we build more," Chen said. "We have shipyards hidden throughout the galaxy. With your help, we can modify them to mass-produce hybrid vessels. But we'll need resources, personnel." "You shall have them," Kazoth announced. "All of them. The Assembly's full industrial might. Every ship, every warrior, every scientist." The time for hesitation is past. The war room erupted in activity as orders were transmitted across the galaxy. The greatest industrial mobilization in galactic history began, powered by desperate necessity and the fusion of human and alien technologies. Above them, the Prometheus's scarred hull creaked as repair drones swarmed over it. The ship, like humanity itself, had revealed its true purpose, not to conquer or dominate, but to stand as a guardian against the darkness between the stars. Now that guardianship would be shared, if they survived the coming storm. Space rippled like disturbed water as the Harvester fleet emerged from the void. Thousands of geometric nightmares, each larger than the last, their very presence warping the fabric of reality. Facing them was the combined might of humanity and the Galactic Assembly, a hastily unified force of modified ships stretching as far as the eye could see. The Prometheus led the defense fleet, its hull now bearing marks of both human ingenuity and alien artistry. Energy beings pulsed within specially designed chambers throughout the ship, their essence powering weapons that could tear holes in space itself. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge, watching tactical displays with Director Okafor at her side. "All ships report ready," Okafor announced. Her cybernetic systems interface directly with the fleet's command network. The Assembly's energy beings are synchronized with our null space weapons. Zoth's crystalline ships have adapted their resonance fields to our specifications. Chen nodded, her expression grim. "And the prototype?" "Dr. Wang reports it's as ready as it will ever be," Okafor replied, glancing at a secure display showing the massive device they'd constructed in secret. It was their last resort, a weapon that could rewrite the laws of physics within a localized area, if it worked. "Fleet-wide transmission," Chen ordered. Her voice carried to every ship in the combined fleet. "This is Admiral Chen. The enemy before us represents the greatest threat our galaxy has ever faced. But look around you. Never before have so many species fought as one. Never before have we combined our strengths like this. Together, we are stronger than any force in the universe. Today, we prove it." The Harvesters struck first. Reality-shearing beams lanced out from their vanguard, aimed at the fleet's center. But Zoth's crystalline ships moved to intercept, their resonance fields refracting the attacks into harmless radiation. Behind them, modified assembly cruisers opened fire with hybrid weapons, their energy beam crews powering weapons based on human designs. "Phase 1. Chen commanded. "Execute." The fleet split into predetermined groups, each targeting specific harvester vessels. The Prometheus led the charge against the largest enemy ship, its null space weapons blazing with the combined power of 100 energy beings. Other human ships followed, their crews working in perfect synchronization with their alien allies. The battle was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Harvester ships distorted space itself as they fought, but the combined fleet had trained for this. Crystalline ships refracted their reality-warping weapons. Energy beings provided power beyond anything humanity could generate alone. And human weapons, designed to strike at the Harvester's dimensional weak points, dealt real damage. But it wasn't enough. For every Harvester ship they destroyed, 2 more emerged from the void. The enemy's numbers seemed endless, their advance relentless. "We're losing too many ships," Okafor reported, her cybernetic eye flickering as she processed casualty reports. "The line is breaking in sectors 7 through 12. Chen watched as another wave of Harvesters emerged from null space. "Send the signal to Dr. Wang. It's time." Deep within the Prometheus, Dr. Wang stood before the prototype device, a massive sphere of crystalline matrices and null space taps, powered by the essence of volunteer energy beings. "Signal received," he reported. "Beginning final sequence." "But Admiral, we still don't know if this will work. The mathematics suggest it could tear a hole in spacetime itself. If we do nothing, the Harvesters will consume everything," Chen replied over the comm. "Better to risk everything on one throw of the dice than watch them devour our galaxy piece by piece." Wang nodded, beginning the activation sequence. The prototype hummed to life, its crystalline surfaces beginning to glow with impossible colors. Energy beings merged with its matrix, their essence powering calculations that broke the fundamental laws of physics. All ships, fall back to secondary positions, Chen ordered. Prepare for prototype activation in 3, 2, 1. The device activated. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then space itself began to warp, not from harvester weapons, but from something far more fundamental. A sphere of altered physics expanded from the Prometheus, washing over friend and foe alike. Within the sphere, the laws of reality changed. The harvesters' partial existence in null space, once their greatest strength, became their undoing. Their ships began to collapse, their impossible geometry unable to exist in this altered spacetime. "It's working," Wang reported, his voice filled with awe. "The field is stable. Their ships can't maintain cohesion in the altered physics." The combined fleet watched in amazement as harvester ships crumbled into normal space, their technology useless in this changed reality. But victory came with a price. The prototype's effects were threatening to cascade out of control, its influence spreading faster than calculated. "The field is expanding too quickly," Wang warned. "We can't shut it down. If it keeps growing, it could rewrite physics across the entire galaxy." Chen looked at the tactical display, watching both victory and potential catastrophe unfold simultaneously. They had stopped the harvesters, but at what cost? The fate of the galaxy now hung on their ability to contain the very weapon that had saved them. The expanding sphere of altered physics lit up space like a newborn star, its edge creeping ever outward, as reality itself buckled under its influence. The remains of the harvester fleet drifted lifelessly within, their impossible technology rendered inert by the changed laws of physics. But their defeat would mean nothing if the effect couldn't be contained. "The field is growing exponentially," Dr. Wang reported from the prototype chamber, his voice strained. "Our containment systems are failing. At this rate, it will reach the nearest populated systems in 6 hours." Admiral Chen turned to Vaxtol, who hovered nearby in their containment suit. "Can your people do anything? The energy beings understand the fundamental forces better than anyone." Vaxtol's form pulsed thoughtfully. "Perhaps, not to stop it, but to shape it, to give it direction." They opened a channel to the energy being crews throughout the fleet. "My kindred, we must act. Focus your essence, not against the field, but with it. Guide it as we guide stellar flows." K'Zoth's crystalline ships moved into position around the sphere's perimeter, their resonance fields synchronizing with the energy being's efforts. "We will amplify your work," K'Zoth declared. "Our crystalline matrices can serve as focusing lenses for your power." Director Okafor's cybernetic systems processed the incoming data. "They're creating a pattern," she reported. "The field's expansion is changing. It's flowing into null space." On the tactical displays, they watched as the sphere of altered physics began to twist, guided by the combined efforts of the energy beings and crystalline ships. Like water flowing down a drain, the effect spiraled away from normal space, pulling itself into the void between dimensions. "It's working," Wang exclaimed. "The field is collapsing in on itself, following the path of least resistance into null space." But he hesitated. The energy beings guiding it, they're being pulled along with it. Vaxtol's form flickered. "We understand the cost. Some of us will go with it, to ensure it never returns, a small price to pay for the galaxy's survival." The sphere continued to spiral inward, taking with it the remains of the harvester fleet and dozens of brave energy beings. In its wake, it left a changed galaxy, not just in terms of physics, but in terms of relationships between species. Hours later, in the Concordia's great chamber, the survivors gathered to assess their new reality. The holographic displays showed the aftermath, a stable region of space where the laws of physics had returned to normal, defended forever from the harvesters by a permanent null space barrier maintained by the sacrificed energy beings. "We won," Chen said quietly, "but the cost was necessary," K'Zoth finished. and not in vain. Look around you, Admiral. Look at what we have built together. The chamber was filled with representatives of every species, but the old divisions had vanished. Humans worked alongside crystalline beings at quantum computers. Energy beings shared their knowledge freely with organic species. The barriers between civilizations had crumbled in the face of their shared triumph and sacrifice. Supreme Speaker Vaxtool addressed the assembly. From this day forward, there can be no return to the old ways. No more isolation, no more hiding of advances, no more artificial barriers between our peoples. We survived because we came together, because we shared our strengths and overcame our fears of each other. The Prometheus will remain, Chen announced, not as a weapon of war, but as a symbol of our unity. Its crew will be drawn from all our peoples, its mission to explore and protect. Dr. Wong stepped forward, holding up a crystalline matrix humming with energy. And we will continue to advance together. Already, we're learning to combine human intuition, energy being understanding, and crystalline focusing technology in ways none of us imagined possible. The assembly chambers erupted in approving sounds from 1,000 different species. In orbit above, the scared but proud form of the Prometheus stood watch, its hybrid systems a testament to what they could achieve together. The galaxy had faced its greatest threat and emerged stronger, not just through victory in battle, but through the bonds forged in that cosmic fire. The age of separation was over. The age of unity had begun. In the vast darkness between galaxies, where physics itself had been changed, the sacrificed energy beings maintained their eternal vigil, their essence becoming one with the barrier that would forever protect their home. Their sacrifice would be remembered not as an ending, but as the foundation of a new beginning. A galaxy united not by fear or power, but by the shared spirit of cooperation that had saved them all.